Undocumented migrant sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up. It was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do now?
Well, I want to clarify what you mean, so we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear with that.
That's White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller stepping in to fact-check CNN's Pamela Brown, who once again was echoing Democrat talking points on Trump and immigration. CNN probably thought this would be an easy hit, but instead they got someone who actually knows the law and won't let media spin slide. When Miller's in the chair, all the soft language games collapse, and suddenly the left's entire framing falls apart. For years, their defense of illegal immigration has been built on words designed to blur reality, but Miller stripped that away in seconds. He showed that undocumented migrant is just code for illegal alien, and when that truth is put on the table, Democrats and their media allies have no defense left.
And this is an undocumented immigrant. I do want to note that, but this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up. Go ahead.
I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake Social Security number.
That's neither here nor there. That's getting away from the question, Stephen. I want this to be, and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right now.
But when we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
Oh, wait,
an illegal alien is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another date.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats. Regardless of the facts or circumstances, we don't want him here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I would gladly come back on when I have more information to share with you.
They were set up, just to be clear. But quickly, where is the White House on habeas corpus?
The illegal alien was treated unfairly. Yes, I'm sure the illegal alien was treated very unfairly.
Where?
You see, this is exactly what happens when someone finally pushes back against the media's word games. Pamela Brown goes on air and tries to soften reality by calling an illegal alien an undocumented migrant, as if we're just talking about a temporary farmhand passing through. That's the kind of language trick the left uses all the time. Water down the words until the actual issue disappears. But Miller wasn't having it. He cut through the spin instantly, and you could see the shift. Brown got flustered, frustrated, because her narrative collapsed the moment plain truth entered the room. That's the Achilles heel of the left's framing. It survives only in echo chambers where no one challenges it. The second you shine a light on the euphemisms, they fall apart. Undocumented isn't some neutral description. It's a deliberate attempt to sanitize the reality that someone is here illegally. And here's the bigger point. 20 years ago, this wasn't even controversial. Everyone agreed that if you cross the border illegally, you are, by definition, an illegal alien. Period. But fast forward to today, and the media treats that basic truth like hate speech. Why? Because it threatens the left's political project of open borders, endless compassion, and zero accountability. They want to make Americans feel guilty for wanting security and sovereignty, while pretending that the law doesn't mean what it plainly says. Miller exposed that. He forced the issue out into the open and made it impossible to ignore. And that's why this exchange matters. Not because Pamela Brown stumbled, but because it revealed the left's entire strategy. It's not about facts or law. It's about using carefully chosen language to blur reality until Americans can't tell the difference between legal and illegal. And when that trick stops working, their whole case crumbles.
Should just rubber stamp what your White House does. If not, what checks and balances do you think should be in place for this White House?
It is not the job of a district court judge to perform an individual green light or red light on every single policy that the president takes as the head of the executive branch. Just think about the premise baked into your question, respectfully, Pam. You're saying that when the American people elect a president of the United States of America,
I'm not saying
well, it's the implication, who is the sole head of the executive branch. Well, let me finish. I will answer the question happily. But look, when you have these kinds of lazy assumptions built into questions, it makes it hard to have a constructive dialogue.
What is a lazy assumption? I said you all had to win.
You said no. You said is it my expectation?
I'm speaking
you
because now you're putting.
You said is it my expectation? It's not just you. It's the whole media. In other words, when you
I know
steer
you
a
want
sentence
to
like
it is a completely fair question. You say judges who rule against the White House.
And I will gladly answer it. When you say, do we think district court judges should rubber stamp each action? There is a premise that is built into that is absurd. The president is the sole head of the executive branch. She's the only officer in the entire government that's elected by the entire American people. Democracy cannot function. In fact, democracy does not exist at all if each action the president takes, foreign policy, diplomatic, military, national security, has to be individually approved by 700 district court judges. That's democracy. So if there's 15 communist crazy judges on the court, that each of them as a team working together can block and freeze each and every executive action.
Miller really nailed the point here. CNN spins Trump's criticism of activist judges as some reckless conspiracy, but the reality proves him right. These judges aren't neutral referees. They're unelected activists who block deportations, stall tariffs, and undercut executive authority at every chance. Look at James Boasberg halting the deportation of Venezuelan gang members, citing due process while Americans pay the price. And that's just one example. Nearly half of all nationwide injunctions since the 1960s have been used against Trump. That's not normal. That's a deliberate pattern. These judges aren't defending the Constitution, they're protecting the swamp. Trump enforces the law while they twist it from the bench. And Miller spelled that out so clearly that Pamela Brown completely lost it live on air.
A district court judge has no authority in this space whatsoever.
But
not even a little bit. Not even a small amount, let alone it is true. So
that is just
why
not true.
Answer me this. Why did Congress create Article 2 immigration courts? Because they didn't want Article 3 courts, and in fact prohibited Article 3 courts from adjudicating individual cases. Okay. Is it really your belief, as if it is, that's breathtaking to me, that when we're deporting an illegal alien, we have to get permission from an Article 3 district court judge?
Okay.
Like a trial judge? Is that your view?
It's how the law works and the Constitution
works.
No,
the law says explicitly that individual immigration cases fall underneath the Attorney General of the United States under Article 2. And the Article 3 courts have been stripped of jurisdiction wholly in this area.
There is a law, and it's a temporary protected status that says it's not subjected to judicial review, but that does not apply to all immigration issues. It's one law
first
from
of all,
Congress.
I'm glad that you're conceding that TPS rulings are unlawful. But the entire structure of
the Supreme Court weighed in on that. I am saying yes. The Supreme Court said the Trump administration was right on that issue.
One of many
twice
examples.
In the last
we are
few
always
weeks.
right.
This really gets to the heart of the issue. The Constitution, through Article 2, places enforcement power in the hands of the executive branch. That means the president, elected by the entire country, carries the responsibility to enforce immigration law. Yet activist judges keep stepping in, acting as though they're the ones in charge. Miller calmly broke this down and reminded viewers that even the Supreme Court sided with Trump more than once on these questions. That's not some fringe opinion. That's the highest court in the land, affirming the president's rightful authority. And what happened when Pamela Brown kept nitpicking? She boxed herself in. At the end of the exchange, she practically admitted Miller was right because he refused to let her keep pushing Democrat talking points under the guise of neutral questioning. That's what real debate looks like. One side armed with facts and constitutional clarity, the other scrambling to hold onto a narrative that doesn't match reality. CNN thought they were setting up a trap, a classic gotcha moment where Miller would be cornered. But instead, they gave him a national stage to expose exactly how the judiciary has been misused to block the will of the American people. It was almost poetic. The network built the platform, and Miller used it to dismantle their entire framing. This is what happens when you put someone on air who actually understands the Constitution and refuses to bow to media pressure. It's not about theatrics, it's about truth, and Miller delivered it without hesitation. So here's the bigger question for all of us. Should a president elected by millions of Americans be able to carry out deportations and secure the border without unelected activist judges interfering at every turn? That's the debate that matters. And Republicans know the answer has to be yes, because without enforcement, sovereignty is just a word on paper.